Meanwhile, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy tweeted his reaction. He writes this: Alvin Bragg is attempting to interfere in our democratic process by invoking federal law to bring politicized charges against President Trump, admitting using federal money while at the same time arguing that the people's representatives in Congress lack jurisdiction to investigate this farce. Bragg's weaponization of the federal justice process will be held accountable by Congress. Joining me now is Texas Congressman, member of the House Oversight and Armed Services Committees, and an Air Force veteran himself, Pat Fallon. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much. I want to continue on this Kevin McCarthy tweet. What can Congress do at this point?
Well, Maria, we can look and see how much money the federal government is giving Alvin Bragg's office, and we can certainly pull that. We can also ask him to, subpoena him and to have him testify in front of the Oversight and/or the Judiciary Committees to discuss this absolute farce. Because we know a few things. What do we know? Number one, President Trump has already been the most investigated American in our history. Two, that in 2019, federal prosecutors looked at this case and found nothing. In 2021, the FEC looked at this case and found nothing. And ironically, Alvin Bragg himself in 2022 looked at this case and suspended the investigation because he found nothing. So is he cracking down on white-collar crime, as he says?
Yeah.
Or is he fulfilling a campaign promise to get Trump?
Are you planning to hold back money to the DOJ, the FBI? I mean, you're going to use the appropriations process to try to put some order here. We all see it the way it is obviously political persecution here.
Well, yeah, because wouldn't Alvin Bragg be bringing these charges if Donald Trump wasn't a political figure running for president of the United States and seeking the Republican nomination? Of course not. So we should do that. We're under divided government. So the power that really we have is House majority in the Republicans in the majority in the House we have the power of the purse. And that's the one, really tool that we have in our toolbox right now.
I want to get your take on really what has been an ineptitude at the border. Texas Department of Safety and Border Patrol agents discovered more than 140 illegal migrants at two separate stash houses near El Paso, Texas, Congressman. So what we see are there are these stash houses in Texas. Can you explain what these stash houses are and what's going on at the border right now?
Yeah, Maria, what's shocking is that when you go to the Rio Grande and visit the border, all of the homes that are on the Mexican side of the Rio Grande, every one of them is owned by the drug cartel.
Wow.
Normal Mexican citizens used to own them, but Mexican cartels own them all. So they stash drugs, narcotics, and also folks, because they make money on both. They charge about $3,000 to $4,000 a person who want to cross the border illegally. And if you don't get a bracelet from the cartel, you could be murdered, or you can be forced to mule drugs across the border. So it's absolute chaos. Joe Biden, Maria, we had never had a month in our history with 200,000 illegal border crossings. Under Joe Biden, we had 10 months in a row. It's absolute chaos. And that's why I filed articles of impeachment on Alejandro Mayorkas at the beginning of this year.
So how does that play out in terms of an impeachment?
Well, there's committees of jurisdiction, joint jurisdiction, the Judiciary Committee, Homeland Security, and the Oversight Committee. I've talked to Chairman Comer on Oversight. I hope to have a hearing, report it favorably to the House, and we should have a vote on it, I would hope, this year.
It's just incredible. And by the way, Alejandro Mayorkas said that he has no idea what the wristbands are, which was pretty incredible not to know. Anybody who's been to the border knows what those wristbands are. But all of this in the face of influence peddling in plain sight. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer says that the testimony of President Biden's former assistant, Kathy Chung, on the classified documents issue undermines the White House's narrative. President Trump commenting on the president's document scandal last night. Here's what he said. Watch this.
Joe Biden took massive amounts more documents, even removed many boxes to Chinatown. Perhaps most importantly, he has 1,850 boxes in Delaware, which he is refusing to give up. But isn't that real obstruction? He comes under the very criminal Federal Records Act, unfortunately for him, but it's not going to matter because they don't follow the law. He had classified documents that he took while he was a senator, which is absolutely inexcusable.
I mean, how do you take classified documents as a senator? I guess you got to stuff them in your jacket or something, right? Because you have to walk out and sign that you are leaving empty-handed in the skiff.
When we go to a skiff, I've been to them plenty of times. You go in there with nothing and you leave with nothing.
Right.
You go and review the classified documents. I don't want anything. I barely want to touch the documents itself, but I'm in the skit. So how they magically make it out of there, I don't know why Joe Biden's not following security protocols. They found classified documents in 3 different places in Washington. And as President Trump just said, in Chinatown of all places. And Kathy Chung was referred to Joe Biden by none other than, believe it or not, stranger than fiction, Hunter Biden.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I mentioned earlier the bank records, because when Comer, chairman of your committee, came out and said, we have these bank records, it indicates $3 million wire went to Rob Walker from Chinese officials. And the next day, he distributes more than $1 million of it to Biden family members. It was the next day that the leak that Trump was going to get indicted started, getting all the oxygen in the room, taking the oxygen out of the room. No one's focused on the bank records. That obviously was by design.
Yeah, and we thought that they were maybe as many as 150 suspicious activity reports. Now we're discovering that it could be as many as 250. And when we get back to Washington, I'm going to review them myself personally. We can't take any pictures or, of course, take any documents with us, but we can review them. And when I review them, I'd love to come back and discuss things with you, because there's a treasure trove waiting there to be discovered.
So you can have access to you're telling me it could be 250 suspicious activity reports, and you're going to have access to that, because wasn't one of the first things Biden did when he walked into the White House is cut off your access to the SARS, the suspicious activity reports?
It's exactly what happened. And traditionally and by precedent, Congress has had access to any SAR that they request. But it has taken us 27 months to get this access. And now we finally have it because we have subpoena power. Let's be really honest. If we didn't, we wouldn't have the access.
Wow. Congressman, thank you. We'll be watching your work. Please come back soon after you're indicating what you're indicating about that 250 SARs. Pat Fallon joining us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.